Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Rocket Monday, we're going to talk about possible life signs found on Mars 2025. So let's dive deep into it. So what is this news? Well, NASA shared details. Let that be clear, NASA already knew about it. They just shared detail to public that Mars rover found something interesting. That happened on 11 a.m. EDT at 10 September 2025. Now, what does this mean? You have to understand, rover is a very limited instrument, as in it has limitation of power, it has limitation of speed. So there is always a tiered approach, meaning they landed on an interesting spot, they scan things, and if they find, oh, I think there is something good there, then they go there. So during this sort of thing, they found something really interesting, and then they used every tool on it, because again, there's a point where it's like, oh, I thought it's something. You scanned it, no, it's boring. You went to somewhere else. This time they went there, it's like, oh, this is really interesting. Then they paid close attention. Okay, it is really interesting. Then they used every single tool available on the rover itself to do that. Now, here's the if this happened on July 2024, why the heck we are hearing about it now? Well, reality is this puppy went there, but this is not the only one. There were many other systems like this. So they wanted to be damn sure. And again, they have been following for this stuff where they thought something, it turned out to be something different. So they wanted to be damn sure. Now, because it is such a high interest factor that you should really look into the basically Nature's paper. It's funny, like how many names are there? It's like a whole paragraph of just names. So they were doing what we call peer review, meaning they thought it's something like that, but it was too good to be true. So they're like, okay, geologist, go YOLO on it. Okay, biologist, go YOLO on it. Astrobiologist, go YOLO on it. Radiation expert, go YOLO on it. Chemist, go YOLO on it. Volcano expert, go YOLO on it. So everybody had to work their ass off to find a way to discredit it. Because again, you have to remember Carl Sagan's most important point. Extraordinary claims requires extraordinary evidence. And nobody wanted to be that scientist that claimed something and turns out to be lol. So they worked really, really hard, and so far, as of now, they failed to find any other what you call alternative that removes biology from the equation. Other things could happen, but as of now, they could not rule out biology. So this was like, they did everything. They did their due diligence, and to the best of their ability, it's like, yeah, we really can't rule it out at this point in time. Like, really can't. We tried for 1 year and tried with different branches and different disciplines. Outcome was the same. We just can't rule it out. Like, nobody's giving a non-biological what you call puzzle solving tool that is fitting this puzzle. So this is the reason why this press conference happened. Again, if you want to watch that press conference, I've linked them down below. But you will notice that they want to openly say it, but they're like, nah, I will not be that idiot who makes that claim. Because again, there have been other people who have fallen for it. So everybody is very cautious. This is where on the planet we landed. Now, where the heck this thing happened? You have to understand, Jezero crater was selected. Now, how the heck you select a site? Well, site selection is done by what we call orbital study. We have what we call Mass Reconnaissance Orbiter. Now, that orbiter has very interesting, very powerful spectrometer. So that spectrum analysis allowed them to figure out which place. Now, here's the site selection is not an easy thing. Like, there is a whole what you call mission parameters, like where you just sit down and do site selection. And there are teams that they start to personalize it, and then they're like, okay, this site is better, my site is better than your site. And trust me, this sort of thing happen, and that's supposed to happen, because only then they can double, quadruple, triple check. It's like only then they can narrow it down. It's like, okay, let's because again, it's equivalent of putting all your eggs in one basket, and right now we are limited by technology, so that is the only way. So Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter did that. So why Mars Orbiter selected this one? Not Orbiter, NASA selected this simply because at this point in time, when they were studying this place, it looked without a shadow of doubt that this is a river delta. Now, can river delta structure be formed by things like a volcano? Yes, but this did not match the characteristics, and the element readout and all other behavior and all other subsequent studies, it made it damn sure where it's like, no, this is a river. This is a riverbed scenario. So this is a very interesting point. Now, after that, rover was sent there, rover landed there. Now you have to understand, rover is so limited in terms of its capability, not because of its motor can't go faster. It does have some amount of power limitation, but because there is no repairs house, there is no backup, it has to be extra cautious. It cannot, basically it has no control Z. So they are very idiotically cautious. That's why even if they land here, going here will take years. And the idea is you go there, you scan your surroundings, you figure things out, and then you do set up the camp and then collect data. And sometimes if you find something interesting, you do the drilling. Because when this mission was selected, they realized that no matter how much instrument you put on a rover, it will never be even 1/10 of the cheapest lab that you can have on Earth. Like, that's the reality. You cannot bypass it. So the only solution is sample return. Now here's the deal. You can just go and scoop up material, but here's the deal. How do you know that material is interesting or not before you scoop it up? You can't. And again, human missions are very far off. So what's the solution? Solution is, if this rover is going there, it has a drill. What if it had a container, basically like a test tube, metal test tube, time-tested test tube, where you can just put the material and put it on the ground. Now, why put it on the ground? Because rover will go kaput at one point or the another, either by the power failure, electronics failure, it will become kaput at one point. So you have to have a way to retrieve all these samples without any issue. So instead of dropping all the samples going back and forth, it would be too consuming, and it also exposes one problem. It's like you put a sample there, dust cloud can literally cover it up so much that next rover actually goes there and can't find it. So they have spread it out in such a way that the likelihood of all of them being covered is zero. So another rover whose sole job, go collect, bring it back, nothing more than that. So that's why they have this drill system and container. I think 5 or 6 of them are left at this point in time. Almost 30 is done. So it takes time. That's why, like, it goes there, set up camps, does the study, does the drilling, puts the system, poop out the test tube, and then it moves forward. So it's a very methodic, slow process. And Jezero crater that Niles fell in this area, basically, the delta margin, it's like, it looked interesting. They went there and it's like, damn, it looks really interesting. Then they look close. Okay, it is seriously interesting. After that point, it's like, yeah, at this point in time, I'm pretty sure the site selection committee would be really celebrating. They're like, bro, our, hunch paid off, like, flat out. So a lot of samples are there and everybody is excited about the sample of this, okay, that exact location sample. So, or again, there is a inherent probability. What if these samples also have signature of life? It's just that on-site instrument could not detect it. So that's also actually a viable possibility. So this is where it happened. Like, our best analysis, this is a river delta. Most interesting thing biologically happens on river deltas. Go YOLO. So what we are talking about? Well, you will hear 2 terms, but those are nicknames, not the actual term. Poppy seeds and leopard spots. Now, you have to understand, they are tiny. That's why I said, like, there is a very good chance these sort of things are already behind rover. They just, like, it's a very tiny thing. So somebody has to just spot it in the footage and then command, go there and scan it. It just happened to happen because it's like the biggest spot is 1 square millimeter. It's tiny. Like, you have to have a macro lens, like a good camera macro lens, or maybe a microscope to see it. So that's there. Now, why it's such an interesting point? Because combination, let that be very clear. One thing on itself is boring, but things in combination is the interesting part. It's almost like you found lithium on land. It's like, duh. But you found a casing. Okay, like material, let's just say eroded material of casing. And then you found lithium. Then you found a separator. Then you found a different compound. Then you found, it's like, if you found the structure, you're like, bro, this is a degraded battery. Like, a few fossils of a battery. Same thing happened here. Basically, they have bentonite. Okay, cool. Okay, they have granite. Okay, cool. Then they have organic carbon. Okay, cool. And there is nothing else in surrounding environment that tells that this is supposed to happen. So redox gradient, this is what they call it, redox gradient. It's ludicrously strong. Let that be clear. The evidence on its own is not that strong, but the fact there is then no other explanation is like, what if this whole area was super acidic? Okay, makes sense. It's not. What if this area was lava bed? It's not. So that's what they were doing. Like, okay, what if it's this? Yes or no? No. What if this is yes or no? No. So all brick by brick, it started to become very strong evidence of basically biology. Now, be mindful, whenever you're talking about biology on Earth, generally we think of photosynthesis. There is another chemosynthesis, so to say, basically chemistry powered system. These things are found on basically deep sea vent, some places where sun does not shine. So there are life form, biological engines that can crunch life basically on chemical fuel rather than actually requiring photosynthesis energy. So those bioform has this sort of output. So it's ludicrously suspicious, so to say. And again, that's why, like, every single evidence that can be gathered, they did. Every instrument that could be utilized, they utilized. So you can see, like, this whole area is like, okay, let's do this, this. So flat out. And other vectors are not matching. Meaning like, okay, that's like what if volcano, not matching. What if acidic, not matching. So at this point in time, they are trying their best to find a culprit. Everybody wants to find a culprit right now. And again, that's how it's supposed to be. Like, they should only claim this is a life sign when there is nothing foreseeable or viable possible. So that's what they found. Like, they found something interesting, in interesting arrangement. That's like basically microbial poop, which is like, there is almost nothing else that makes this exact pattern. So what's the meaning of this? Well, here's the deal. We have made this sort of mistake in the past. For example, Viking lander experiment, this puppy. It had like, okay, what if I have a biology on the soil? What will happen? Well, what if you put some stuff there and if gases come out, it's reacting. Yeah, they did that and it did come out, and then they realized, yeah, that's a way too sloppy testing. It's almost like, what if by that logic vinegar will feel like a lifespan, because it was detecting for CO2 emission. It detected, it's like, ta-da, no, there were many things that could do that. So they had learned their lesson. That was in 1976. And then we had another bitch slap moment. Basically, somebody bitch slapped Mars, and then ejecta happened. Now, be mindful, ejecta can fall into other planets after millions of years. So this ejecta fall into Earth, basically ALH84001, and this happened in 1996, and this is the time when president announced it. That's the whole point. They did an electron microscopy, and this was detected. Basically, almost looked like a fossilized microbe. So they were like, no, we have detected it. And here's the deal. After a while, people figured out this is not good enough. Like, could this be? Maybe 10% of people are still holding hope, but likelihood is it's not good enough. There we go. Extraordinary claims requires extraordinary. This is way too flimsy. This is like, you're really pushing it. It's like almost like face on Mars kind of thing. You're pushing it. So, and there was a point where we detected basically CH4 on basically Mars, and people were like, yo, life. And that was also confusing, and it took time to understand that ultraviolet exposure on that high level could do some interesting thing that does not happen on Earth. So they're like, okay, we learned our lesson. So what's the lesson? Lesson is cold scale, as in confidence of life detection, as in detect possible signal. Done. Rule out contamination. You did not brought it there. Then make sure biology is possible, because again, you have to understand, if you are doing spectrum analysis and all that, what if you did not scan for temperature? What if that whole block was like, radioactive, like 700 degrees Celsius, but because you are using camera and this sort of thing is possible, where it's like, oh, we did not account for this. Things like that happen. So you have to make sure that biology is possible there. Then you have to make sure there is no non-biological processes that could do that, like some gas in Venus atmosphere. So you have to make sure that no other possible explanation exists. Then you have additional independent signal, because this is the most critical part. If you find life signs, there is a very strong chance other things will be there, has to be there. Life does not evolve like, ta-da, one life, I'm alone. That's not how it works. So there has to be other things, compounding variables, so to say. And then rule out all other hypotheses. Then you do independent confirmation. So this cold scale, they will say like they are roughly at a 3 at this point in time. They're like very cautious. Even if let's just say that sample return mission does happen and they're like, ta-da, life, they still would be like, let's be extra careful. Again, we had enough bitch slap moments. President got bitch slap for this. So people have learned their lesson. So let that be very abundantly clear. So we are at level 3 at cold scale. So what can we expect in the future? Now, this will be very clear. While rovers have some oomph, some horsepower, it's miniature. Like, practically speaking, even the cheapest lab on Earth will just smoke it. There is not even a, if you bring the sample to Earth lab, it's like Control C, Control V, the end, go home. Like, it won't be a whole day mission. It's like, bruh, we done, go home. That's how quickly we'll figure it out. And that was the reason why Mars Sample Return Mission, or MSR, was proposed. The idea is you do the drilling, you collect the sample, and then you send a second rover with a single stage to orbit rocket. That now, like, can you do single stage to orbit? Not on Earth, but on Mars there are two things. First, gravity is very, very low. Second, there is no atmosphere. So both things combined does allow a solid booster to go yeet from basically Mars surface and actually not land as in dock with a orbital asset. The idea is that orbital asset will come back to Earth and deliver the payload. So that's the whole point. That's the whole why they have that hollow core rock trail. So this is the closest we ever got to alien life as of now. Again, as of now, we cannot say it is alien life, but as of now, this is the closest we got. And many hypotheses can lead to life. Let that be very clear. It's not like, again, the worst case scenario is like, what if we contaminated it, but with some other instrument? We have crashed enough things on Mars where it's like, things could happen. Again, likelihood is teeny tiny, weeny, whiny, but again, we have learned our lesson. So that is there. But again, we need to have more data to narrow it down. And again, the most awesome result would be all the canister, almost half of the canisters have life signs. Then it will be like, okay, we figured it out, life is there. And at that point in time, it will be like, if that prominent from that many different geographical location, yeah, it cannot be contamination from Earth, and geological time dating will also allow to understand it. So we need to narrow it down. Basically, we have such a wide margin, we're like, narrow it down. So what are the possible hypotheses? My personal favorite is panspermia. Basically, planet gets kaput by a big rock going really, really fast, making some extra sweet love to it, and it has a lot of ejecta. Now, if ejecta had biosphere to it, as in like a crust boomed outwards, that ejecta couldn't carry enough biosignature, enough biomaterial, or even microbes, that if certain microbes that can, like, quote unquote switch off, as in like get disabled, it can jump the void of space. Now, likelihood is very low. Let that be very clear. It is low that even tardigrades can just eat from ejecta from one planet to another, because again, you have radiation, and freezing in space for very long term, it's like, it's a slow cooking scenario. So if it's quick enough, things can happen. But like, best you are looking at, like, the fastest explanation I've seen is like, it will still take like 10-20 years to, like, eject in the right way, then Mars coming to in your trail, so to say, so it put into that. Not impossible, but could happen. So that will explain life hopping from planet to planet. Okay, but how would we know? Well, if the life architecture matches the Earth system, Earth has a certain signature to it, certain essence of life on itself. And if we find all the, and we start to find exactly control C, control V, that means either Mars got kaput at some point and its biosphere landed on Earth, contaminated Earth, and tada, or Earth sneezed and got kaput, like basically put biosphere on Mars. Likelihood is Mars contaminated Earth, simply because Mars cooled down before Earth. Earth is bigger. Mars cooled down faster. Mars reach liquid state, as in liquid water on its surface state, much quicker. So, and again, ejecta would also be much more comfortable. Yeeting from Mars is easier compared to yeeting from Earth. So that would be interesting, that we are the Martians. So that's a unique point. So this was my presentation on this biosignature revelation. I hope you guys have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me disappointment. Please leave a comment, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.